You are now about to watch Everybody Gonna See Live Podcast with your host, DJ Big Suede.
Everybody gon' see. Everybody gon' see.
Yo, what's up with it, everybody? Thank you for joining the Everybody Gonna See It Live podcast. Your host, DJ Big Suede. And today we have a very special guest. He goes by the name of Flipmaster M.O.E. And he is a CEO of Playboy Extraordinary Records. He's also a consultant agent for clubs and bars to be able to get their stuff stepped up to the next level to make sure that everything is elegant, clean, everything is sanitized and ready to go. So, what's up with it, Flipmaster?
What's going on, y'all? How y'all doing tonight?
Thank you for joining Everybody Gonna See It Live podcast. Well, I see that you got your St. Louis stuff on representing. I had to put mine on.
I gotta represent. I come from St. Louis, man. I was born in Minnesota, but man, I was raised in St. Louis. I seen a whole lot of things and a whole lot of people do a lot of stuff. My mom's, my pops, you know what I'm saying? Step pops, a whole lot of family members. They all have been involved in the entertainment industry. My mom was actually a model, and she helped do a whole lot of promotion in the city of St. Louis as well. So I got a lot of training accidentally.
It wasn't accidentally, it was a given. You got to think of how our parents was. Well, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself, and I'm gonna let you take it from here.
Oh man, I mean, it's a long story. We might have to have 4 or 5 podcasts, but I'm gonna tell you right now, here's the situation. I'm a guy that came. I'm one of the out of 6 children. You know what I'm saying? I'm the 5th child. You know what I mean? And I had a great big brother, excellent sister, stuff like that. With that being said, I wound up getting into business. You know what I'm saying? I have to music. Music was my biggest thing. That catapulted everything for me. I wound up being in the inner city, in the county of St. Louis, and then I wound up moving out to the country, basically. At that time, it was the country because it's like Rolla, Missouri, and St. Louis. It's like St. Louis, Rolla, that's the country. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, from there, we did a lot of touring and stuff, and going into a lot of clubs. Now, with me, I wound up being able to be in clubs early on in my life, and I wound up doing security in a lot of different clubs.
Well, name one of the clubs you used to do security with, because one of them I used to love to come to. My little bro was sitting there, security.
Well, I worked at the monastery in St. Louis. You know what I'm saying? I worked in Collinsville at the Excalibur.
Yeah.
I also worked downtown on Landon, which is Rivers. And I also worked in a place called the Trinity nightclub in St. Robert, Missouri.
Gotcha.
And those are all different realms, actually, of different type of people that come in. And then with that being said as well, we had different type of food situations. I mean, at the monastery, man, there was a place called Allure across the street where they sold chicken and fries. You know what I mean? But in all of that, at 17 years old, I started doing the whole club scene as far as working in it, besides just being an artist. So what happened is, I guess I was a sponge, and I utilized all of the information that I got from it and started putting it together as I got older. So once I was like 21, 22, 23, I was still in the clubs and some of the bars, regular bars, dive bars, high-end bars, whatever, and I started also working in some of them. Now, we're going to backtrack a little bit.
Okay, talk to me.
My first job was at Popeye's Chicken, which was a fast food restaurant.
All right. We all worked there.
Yeah, I had a family member that was a manager there, so I learned the different aspects of why and how and all of that with the food situation. And then also like there's a lot of science behind the restaurant business, from colors, from height of chairs, from the sounds that are coming from speakers and stuff like that. Just things that I learned along the way. Now, another thing I was doing as well at the same time, I worked at the Radisson Hotel, and that was more of a upper class hotel, but I worked in the kitchen. So we got to see people that were entertainers like the WWF at the time. That's what the name was, but now it's WWE Network or whatnot. So we did all of these kind of things. And then you're talking 16, 17, and then 18, 19, 20, 21, all of that stuff. I wound up working at a lot of different places, Denny's, Steak and Shake. I had to try to find my footing in this world of life, right? So the whole point of me doing it is because I wanted to make money, but I had a passion to be an artist, and I had a passion to be a boss. And it's just so many different aspects of my life. I was still trying to find where I actually fit.
So when did you open your eyes to kind of figure out that you probably wanted to do something in that industry, and you end up consulting other bars and establishments on how to keep their stuff together? Where did that come from?
Well, for the most part, I developed my passion because I was passionate about wanting to see other people smile, right? So I know that makes no sense all the time.
It makes sense. Come on with it.
But to make people smile is basically giving people an experience. And I love that. My mother was one of the people who taught me a lot of different elegant things, a lot of techniques on just the bottom line, I guess you would call it, like proper etiquette. So my mother taught us a lot of etiquette. She had a girls' club. I was a technician in it. She taught us proper etiquette.
So wait, where was she in the girls' club at where all that came into play?
Okay, so we lived in Council Point in St. Louis County, North County. And when we moved there, I think it was like 86 or something like that, 1986. And at the end of the day, my mom has a vision. She was a visionary, and she paved a lot of ways. And for me, I was very happy about that with my stepdad, my father, all of them. She had a type of guy. Okay, so they were gentlemen as well. So the places that they took her and the places that she frequented, or I don't even know if that's the right word, but they were more elegant. And she's been in other places as well, so she knew how to teach her sons how to be gentlemen. And with that being said, we were able to learn certain things, even in the political standpoint. So you talk about a person that's great. Yeah, I know that we're supposed to talk about certain things, but my mother was one of the most excellent people on the planet. If it wasn't for her, if it wasn't for my oldest sister and my oldest brother, I would never be the person I am today. With that also being said, all of those things I've learned during that time frame catapulted me to doing one thing. And that one thing that I did was say, hey, the only places I like to go is where I feel great at. And then as an older person, I was like, yeah, I don't want to go into any place that I don't feel special. You know what I mean? So I was like, all right, so I know these recipes. I know all of this. I got educated, did the business administration, BBAs and all of that, specialized sales, merchandise, and then marketing operations. But that's just that. But I also had experience in the real world. as well, not just books. So when you look at a situation like, say, for instance, you go into McDonald's, the only reason why you go into McDonald's, they feed you on media, whether it's radio, television, the colors, the yellow, blah, blah, blah. You know, I can tell you all kind of different levels of things, but at the end of the day, when it comes down to why I started doing it, is because I wanted other people to be able to know what I do, right? So I lived in Rolla, Missouri, and there was places that could have made more money. And some of these guys, I was a frequent person at the bars and restaurants, and you know, and I saw them losing money, and the only reason they were losing money is because they were not catering to the people. They were too busy, like most of the owners and the managers, they were too busy working the job, working the business, and not working on it.
Gotcha.
You understand what I'm saying? So it was more of like, all right, if you seen that these floors and these lights were like a problem, then you would fix it. But a lot of times they were too busy, understaffed or whatnot. And even just not even being able to pay attention to it because there was too much stuff going on already.
So let me ask you this. How old were you when you decided that after you know, being out in the scene, peeping the scene, learning the ins and out of all the different scenes, that you decided that you wanted to go and consult other entities and businesses and bars and restaurants?
It's a funny story, actually. A guy named Joe Malva, he owned 2 different restaurants in that area. He's an older guy, white guy, and he was a biker. You know, and you know, there's a stigma where bikers don't like black people or whatever. But this guy, he gave me an opportunity one time when I was doing music, and he actually became a mentor as a restaurateur for me. And what he told me, he said, never waste your money on something you know you're going to waste your money on. But always understand that there's a way to make money and not be attached to what you're making money on. I was like, what? I really didn't understand that at that second, but it made sense because it's kind of like if you have a vehicle, right? And you're building it up to sell it to someone. You're not attached to the vehicle, but you put money into it. Right? It's just like a business. It's the same thing. But I think I was probably about 21, 22, when I thought to myself, I was like, man, I've seen this, I've seen that, I've seen this, I've seen that. In this community, I live in it, and I want to make it better. And I want the other people that show me love when I come into a building to always be able to have that business. And the only way they can do it is by making people come back.
Yeah.
And the only way you can make people come back is by selling them the experience instead of the product. And that's the biggest part about a whole lot of things. It's like, if you sell a person an experience, they're going to tell their friends, they're going to enjoy a situation. If they feel special somewhere, they're going to always bring people back. And if you're just selling drinks, if you're just selling food, if that's your goal, at some point you'll fail. And failing is not a bad thing. You'll learn from it. Yet, at the same time, it's better to be a destination.
Yeah, definitely. So that pretty much explains the half of what inspired you and everything to do it. But once you got into that, why was it more of a priority than just opening your own bar?
Because I am a person that wants, again, like I said, I want people to be able to see the best version of themselves. A lot of people's dreams, a lot of people's retirements, a lot of people's first things are like, I want to open a business, I want to do this, I want to do that. And I'm like, at that time I was really good as far as financially. And then on top of that, I knew so many people and I put smiles on people's face every time I came around, but that doesn't mean they're making money. You know what I mean?
So what was that point where you decided to open up one of the first Black luxury elegant bars by the name of the Diamond Lounge in small town Rolla? Rolla's like 2 hours away from the big city, from St. Louis. Anybody had to go to a club, they were pretty much driving away, but there were still no elegant clubs in that town that you could go and put a suit and tie on and actually be welcome like you deserve and all that. What made you come up with that concept during the time you were doing the actual consulting for these other companies? Because I know you've been on your mind for a long time to actually do it, because when we had the situation with the Uptown Theater with BAM and all that, with that club experience, I know eventually you wanted to get out and do your own, because everything that you were doing, you wasn't satisfied with it because it wasn't elegant enough. So, he never satisfied. Like, what made you decide to put all your coins and your energy into that when you were making money just consulting people in these other entities? Like,
well, the funny part about it is I wasn't going to do it, and I had thought about it for quite some time, but I was consulting a company, business, and a guy had talked to me for a few months, and I didn't really take him seriously because he was a guy that he was in a whole nother realm, and I started helping him, and the person that he was partnering with didn't want to listen, and she said to me, she said, "Are you the person that helped locker room? Are you the person that helped the porch? Are you the person that helped?" Like,
and those are names of other local establishments that you actually, gave a few little pointers to help them step their stuff up and get customers.
Yeah, not just pointers, but just it gave them a blueprint for certain situations or did work with or whatnot, and it was successful, and they knew about that, and they were a new company, and they just kind of opened up. They were open maybe 6 months, but she said, "Why don't you do your own thing?" She was one of those kind of people that, why are you trying to help us? And why is it cheap for you to do that? And my whole thing was like, I knew this guy, Marty, and he was a guy that owned a muffler mart for ages in this town. And he decided to do this because he was with her, and that's basically what she wanted to do, because she was a frequent bar patron, but she didn't realize that the bar business is actually hard. It's a lot of work, and it's a lot of science behind it, even to the height of the chairs. It's and the lighting, the booth, everything. It's a lot. So anyway, she said that. She said, "So why don't you have your own place?" Well, you sure right. So needless to say, needless to say, the thing was, I said, you know what, I'm not going to do this situation with you guys, and then I moved the event to another place, and I wound up going and purchasing this spot, the Diamond Lounge. Well, that wound up being the Diamond Lounge, used to be the porch, and made it an upscale place, and 100%. I loved it. I wasn't attached to it like most people would be, but I did it, and it was very successful. That's the reason why. But the crazy part about it, the idea that I had for that, I had for quite some time. And then I watched Bar Rescue.
So you watched Bar Rescue?
I watched Bar Rescue, and all of my ideas basically were on one of his shows, and that place was called The Garnet. And The Garnet, I mean, even the name, The Diamond Lounge, I thought to myself, like, how is this The Garnet? And The Garnet is also a gemstone. And I was like, wow, I have to do it. So I did it. It worked. Made money. And typically when you open a business, it takes about 2 years for you to see a profit. Open it up with cash money, saw a profit in 30 days.
That's what's up. Profit in 30 days. That's another interview I wanted to talk to you about, financing and starting businesses and all that kind of stuff. But that's going to be another segment. But so in the midst of all that, I know you had a lot of different things going on. You relocated a couple of times or whatever. What do you got going on now? Because I see you be representing this Never Satisfied Life. When I first came to Texas, the first event that was here, the first week I got here was a Never Satisfied Life event, and I fucking loved it. I got to meet a lot of the artists, like what his name is, Stress Less, and Yoko, and a lot of Lady, what was her name? Lady J, Mo.3. I just met so many people, Radio, all these guys, right. And they all made me feel, Jay Oliver, they all made me feel welcome here, and they knew I wasn't from here, and there was no type of negative, any type of vibe, and every time I get around any of those guys, I feel that, and I know you work with them, and I don't know them guys like that. I just ran into them, met a couple of them, some of them I talk to every now and then, but not many. How's that going? I see you got shoes, you got your little necklace, you got your stuff going on. Talk about Never Satisfied Life for me.
Well, Never Satisfied Life. If anybody wants to know what Never Satisfied means, the real reason that we even talk about Never Satisfied is because we never settle for less. Period. I mean,
absolutely.
You always have to.
I like that.
Keep putting your bar high. There's no ceilings. There's no glass ceilings. There's no ceilings at all. And the sky is not the limit. We're talking about the universe, you feel me? So, with that being said, I came down here to Dallas several years ago. And when I came down here to open up another upscale lounge. And then I also wanted to do a club at the same time and a fashion place, numerous things. So I was manufacturing clothes, different garments, shirts, pants, socks, hats, whatever, working for a company that was like in-your-face apparel, and actually one of the people that gave me the game on screen print and stuff like that, and just like everything you ever taught me, I would kind of run with it.
Yes, sir. Yeah, ran with it all. That's good though.
And with Never Satisfied, Radio reached out to me, and we had a meeting. Once we had the meeting, we started moving more product, and then we sat down and came with another meeting. Now we're talking about numbers, But then I was like, we gotta move certain things in different directions, and Never Satisfied. Now, don't get it twisted. There's a whole lot of billboard plaques.
Yeah.
In different genres of music.
Yeah. I've seen it.
And movies, podcasts.
Well, I follow them guys in the page on Instagram, and I always see that they're always advertising booth space for studio recordings, production, podcast production, even places where you can lease the place out, where you can actually do live videos and stuff like that, versus us, being here. Like this Airbnb is nice, and every time you guys come around, it's always something nice. It makes me motivated, to also want to do better and do more. And that's why I try to get people to donate to the podcast so I can step it up.
I would love for you to come to the mansion in a couple of days and do the podcast. And I mean, that's one of the things that people should donate for, because honestly, it's important.
Yeah, and when you're doing stuff like I'm doing, it's all free, and I'm based around, my podcast is pretty much based around careers, entrepreneurs, things like that, because in hard times like right now, when pandemic stuff and everything, it's kind of hard to stay focused on real life without being stressed out. Now, if you have people that have ideas and business structures and stuff like that, a lot of people can actually forget about what's going on and focus and utilize their time that they're not spending focusing and working on certain things. And that's just how I came up with the podcast. Like, I did it because it was like, okay, we can't work. Seemed like to me the only people getting paid is online people.
Right.
Let my old ass learn something about this online stuff. So I chose the podcasting. And, you know, I started getting back into the DJing slowly and stuff, of course. So I got the website together, the apparel and all that stuff. And I'm just pushing to try to make this a little bigger than what it is. I want people to understand that there's a platform and a podcast for you so you can tell your story. And also you might be able to teach somebody something about a career or some type of entrepreneurship they can get into that can change their life. You know what I mean?
Well, the most important thing that I can contribute in a few words is that everybody has a dream, right?
Yes, sir.
And everybody sees something. That dream can only be put into reality if you put a plan in front of it.
Yes.
And once you put the steps in front of a dream, it becomes a goal, and a goal is actually obtainable. So at the end of the day, if you got a dream, if you want something in your life, you have to put a plan in place in order for it to happen. Push forward. You're going to have ups and downs, but at the end of the day, failing is not a bad thing.
Right, absolutely.
Failing is trying. And when you try, you learn.
Yeah.
And when you learn, you do better. You know what I mean? So it's always important to actually put a plan in place. If you're doing it free, willy-nilly, you know, I've done it. You know, everybody's done it, you know, just floating and do some things. But when you have a plan and you know kind of avenues, the biggest part for me is to network with other people. Networking is highly important because once you have a network, you create a situation where you have a team. The only reason why consulting is even successful for me is because of my networking. I can't do everything on my own. So I have to make sure that the guy that does lighting or the guy that does backgrounds or the company that does promotion or whatever, I don't do everything on my own. That's the reason why consulting is highly important. So with these companies that I've helped, whether they're in the restaurant industry or the nightlife industry or the shoe industry or whatever it may be, music industry, there's a lot of people that you help by utilizing their skills. And that's what networking is all about, is to create these relationships. When you create these relationships, put them into play. Because if you have a network and it doesn't do anything, it's like a bad reception with a wireless carrier.
Okay, gotcha. Makes sense to me. All right, well, I guess why don't you tell me what you want everybody to see live coming from you, Mr. Johnson, just so, you know, they can know how to get a hold of you, some of your plugs, information, blah, blah. I'm going to put a lot of it at the bottom of the description, but what do you want to see everybody? What you want everybody to see?
Well, I want everybody to see a whole lot, but with that being said, we might as well just do the plugs because it's self-explanatory.
All right, so check this out. Why don't you let the people know how they can reach you, get a hold of you, your plugs, etc.
ShopNeverSatisfied.com. We got, Flipmaster 225 on Twitter. Got Big M.O.E 225 on everything, all around. But, at the end of the day, shop with me. Shop with me. Don't forget, as far as the consultants, two gentlemen enterprise. So that's more of a situation where people kind of pass me around.
You said two gentlemen enterprise.
Two gentlemen.
Consultant.
Gentlemen enterprise. And that typically I just emails on, stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I utilize one client until their friend, blah, blah, blah. So. All kind of things of that nature. Matter of fact, I think that parachute package.
You think?
Yeah, I think that this is the first issue. These are what's that? NS-VIPs. Okay, yeah. They're never satisfied, joint. Flip it, quit. Yeah. So, we got on box. Yeah, it's not a typical box. These are handmade, straight out of the highest quality suede leather. Handcrafted. Yeah. You're never satisfied. Never settle for that.
All right. Well, thank you guys for tuning in to the Errbody Gonna See It Live podcast. I am your host, DJ Big Suede, and I just want to say thank you guys for tuning in. Thanks for watching. What you say? Never satisfied like me.
Never settle for less.
Never settle for less. You all have a blessed day, and I'll holler at you. Peace.